Greetings, y'all. I want to make this little video, and I would just like to give a sort of a brief explanation why we sail. Why do we utilize sailboats? Okay, we serve as lead captain of Islander Evangelistic Ministries International, and we've been hauling humanitarian aid, storm relief to the islands, mainly off the south coast of Haiti, about 1,000 miles from our hailing port of Steinhatchee, Florida. And we have carried a lot of church supplies, tools, medicines. Where do I stop with this? Just building materials. For some of the building projects we've been involved in there, and then during or after, I should say, a hurricane or earthquake, we've carried in a lot of storm relief. And by the help of the Lord and by those that help pray and support this ministry, we've carried in a lot of building materials and things like that. And then meanwhile, we have our feeding programs. But anyhow, getting back to the sailboats, you say, well, why sailboats? Because for one thing, a common occurrence is that we hear oftentimes going in and out of various ports when we're out there at sea, is we hear a lot of the marinas, they complain, they say, well, the sailboats, they don't spend enough money, they don't buy enough fuel or this or that. Well, there's a lot of truth in that. Reason being is that's the reason we have sailboats. It's about economics. You take us in this ministry, Islander Evangelistic Ministries International. We travel, we leave port 2,000 or 3,000 nautical miles before we ever make it back home. And so we use God-given wind. We use our engines to get in and out of harbors oftentimes, or if we're out at sea in a dead calm and we have sufficient fuel, then we may motor sail and just let the engine sort of idle and keep our sails out, and we still move along. We're not just sitting out there someplace waiting on the wind to blow. And but one of the complaints that we hear is they don't, and so you take a sailing vessel. Our vessel holds about 110, maybe 120 gallons of diesel fuel. All right. Most power cabin cruisers and power vessels that come in, it might be 500 gallon, it might be 700 or 800 gallon, depending on the vessel, of course. Now, not only are the sailboats about economics, but there's been several times we've been in a third world country in a foreign port when there was no fuel. They would be in a fuel shortage. You couldn't buy any fuel. And if you got any fuel at all, it might be on the black market in tainted fuel. Fuel that, I remember one time in Haiti, we had a fuel shortage. You couldn't get any kind of fuel, gasoline or diesel, either one. And they took this juice, the real cheap sugar juice that they make, and they take what they call the champagne cola, which is the same color as gasoline, and they pour a bunch of that, this sugar water really is what it is, into the gasoline, and make it go a little further. Well, imagine what that's doing to your engine. So I'm just giving you some reasons why. Now with a sailboat, we've been in the islands and couldn't get any fuel at all, but strictly under sail. We were able to leave and return back to the States. And we have made that voyage in time past with no engine propulsion. Hey, back in the old days, that's what they did. They didn't have backup combustion engines of any kind. They went every place just with the wind. And so, yes, that's why we have sailboats. On another note, sailboats, anything short of an ocean cruiser or an ocean liner or a freight liner or something, a sailboat's the safest boat out there. You got a deep keel that keeps it stable. You got the sailboats they're designed for traveling and voyaging heavy seas at times, and they're designed for such. And so there again, it's one of the safest vessels you could be in. I remember we got caught in a white squall one time. Matter of fact, we was just coming into Castle Island, not Castle Island, just south of Naples. And how we were coming in there, and we were probably 25, 30 miles offshore. And so we looked off into the horizon, we see nothing but a big white cloud, dark cloud, some of them were. It was mixed all as far as we could see from north to the south. Later on, we come to find out it was a white squall. We got our sails down, we followed the engine up, and that thing hit. There were a lot of fishing boats out that got caught in that. Next thing you know, the Coast Guard Seahawks are all flying out to rescue boaters that got caught in that bad storm. Us, and I told my crew, I said, thank Jesus. I said, you're in one of the safest boats you could be in out here in this situation. A white squall is about a 30 to 40 minute hurricane conditions. And so we went through that white squall down there. And that sailboat brought us through safely, and we made it on into safe harbor. So it's about economics. It's about having a safe vessel. If you're in a hurry, you don't want to be a sailor, because people that are used to flying in and out on power boats, you might have a hard time getting used to a sailboat, but they'll get you where you need to go. And yes, it's about economics. We're just a small ministry, and we've been using these sailboats for a lot of years. And by the help of the good Lord in heaven, we got several thousand nautical miles under our keel, traveling back and forth to the islands, Jamaica, Ile La Vache, other parts of Haiti, Dominican Republic, and all through the Bahamas, and even the Turks and Caicos and the Cayman Islands. And so we've been sailing these waters for a lot of years. So that's why that we have sailboats. Now I realize and I understand that there are some that get a vessel, whatever. It could be a power vessel, it might be a sailboat. A lot of times it ends up being a sailboat, and they don't really go no place. They just go somewhere and they live on the boat. I understand that. And I understand that there are some that have sailboats and they abandon them. They become derelict. I understand that there are some that get on a boat, they don't properly maintain them. They don't properly secure them. We understand that. But I can tell you, our ministry vessels, we have far too much of God's money invested in these boats to neglect them. So we do our dead level best to have ample weight to hold them in position, a lot of chain, good chain, and we do our best. This last hurricane that we had, Helene, we had definitely a couple derelicts slam into our boat. We had about 60 foot of chain out. We had several thousand pounds of weight, and I really honestly believe it would have held. But when you got other boats hung up on it, and then all that extra torque and all that extra weight, what could possibly survive that? A house just within 100 feet or so, a couple 100 feet maybe, perhaps, I'm not sure, but really close, a house. It picked a whole house up and floated across the treetops in the marsh and set it down in the middle of the woods. That was the magnitude of that storm, and I don't need to explain that to anybody. Y'all that live in Steinhatchee and Horseshoe Beach and our coastal towns, you already know all about that, so I don't need to even touch on that at all. Now pray for us. We're trying to get our boat out. We will by the help of the Lord. Helene not only left our flagship sitting in the marsh, and she's in fine shape other than the fact she needs be brought out. We really couldn't have done much of anything until recently, because we had a boat that was laying over on top of us. But that boat now has been eradicated and it's not there. So it's now our challenge is we have big rocks there, and we need to turn the boat on the other side of its keel, but we have to somehow buffer it so it doesn't damage the hull when we do that. And so we're working on that. And beside all that, Haleen left us initially with a dislocated shoulder and tore my tendons. And come to find out later on, that all happened the morning of the 27th of September. Here we are now in January 2025. It's still giving us trouble. Come to find out, we have a rotary cup is torn in two. And now they're going to have to go in and do surgery and fix it. And so, excuse me. So we've had a full plate. And so pray for us. We working trying to get that boat out. And of course, as we make this video here right now, we have a cold front moving in, and it's going to be real difficult to do a whole lot maybe during this time. We still got a few branches that we need to cut out of the rigging where the boat has leaned over to the edge of the woods. We're working on that, and actually tomorrow we're going up there with a friend of ours that has a lot of heavy equipment, and we're going to look at it again, assess the situation. So we're trying to plan and devise a way and a means to getting this boat out, and we're working on that. It's God's boat. It's the Lord's boat. This is not a private yacht that we're making money with, but it is God's boat. There's been churches right there in Steinhatchee. We've had churches, and in the Tri-County area and across the United States as far as that goes. But we've had churches and individuals that have given in goodwill toward that vessel, that we might do ministry with it. And by the help of the good Lord in heaven, we have done a lot of ministry with that boat. We've been involved in making a lot of safe drinking water for islanders after storms and hurricanes, and we've hauled tons of humanitarian aid and storm relief and church help into the islands. I wouldn't know where to stop with all this. And we look at it as stewardship. Is stewardship. You know, we try to, the best we can, take care of what the Lord has trusted us with. And so that's where we're at right now. But I just wanted to explain a little bit why sailboats. You know, a big power vessel, yeah, we could probably actually get more on it. But look at the cost. We're talking just one trip deal of ocean back is 2,000, a little bit over 2,000 nautical mile. How much fuel would we burn? As opposed to a sailing vessel, just a minute amount, just very little. And so that's why we use sailboats, safety and economics. And that's all I can say about it. And we use these boats for ministry. And so, all right, God bless you. Pray for us if you would. And we appreciate y'all. And I realize there are some in Steinhatchee and other, mainly Steinhatchee, because that's about the only place around that has deep enough water to get a sailing vessel. And we got some that have the perception that the sailboats seem to be responsible for all the docks and everything out, and that's just completely ridiculous, and it's not so at all. Anybody that's honest, most folks know when that storm surge came in 21 to 23 feet above high tide, most of them docks came up over top of the pilings. They didn't have stoppers on them, and they just went wherever they went. And it's just that simple. And we did have a couple of derelict boats that slammed into some docks. And I might add this, we're as much against derelict boats that people's not maintaining and taking care of as anybody else. Not only do they destroy and threaten property along the river, but they pose a threat to us as well that maintain our vessels and take care of them. And so I just hope and pray that folks would understand that, because that's just the way it is. And folks should be working together. And so God bless you. Pray for us if you would. And so until next time, God bless you.